Hi, I'm Mr. Moser, and welcome to my podcast on properties of matter. So, deep underground, people come to see complex caverns and amazing structures that have grown up over time on ceilings and floors and walls. And this is a picture here of Lehman Caves, and you can see right here, this is a big, it looks like a hot air balloon here. And people come from all over the world to Nevada to see these awesome structures, and they're masterpieces that are produced by over time, and they're just products of changes in matter. Color and shape and size are physical properties. Properties of matter are characteristics that can be used to describe the matter. So you can see here I've got this picture of these dogs playing in the water, and we can look at those dogs, and we can see that one of them is white, two of them are kind of a reddish color, and one of them is a black color. And those are all observable traits, physical properties of those dogs. They could be big dogs or small dogs, fat dogs, skinny dogs. Those are all properties, physical properties of those dogs. Now we have two different kinds of properties there. We have observable properties like color or shape, and they're determined by looking at the object. Another property is the state of matter, like is it a solid or a liquid or a gas? Melting point, the boiling point, those are all observable properties. And then we also have measurable properties. Measurable properties are things that there's some physical properties that we measure. We were discovered by measuring them, like the mass or the volume. So here we have a picture of, right here, this is a picture of liquids stacked on top of one another. And they're stacked there, not mixing together, because they have different masses and they float at different levels. And then we just might measure those things. So volume, is how much space something takes up. Mass is how much matter there is. And another measurable property is density, and that's just how much mass there is in a given volume. This maintenance worker has come to the pool, and he's taking some samples of the water. And there's some things here that are the same in that sample of water and also in the pool, the big pool of water. And there's some properties that are different from them. And the ones that are going to stay the same, we're going to call those intensive properties. Some of these intensive properties are density, melting point, the boiling point, temperature, color. They're all the same for both samples. Properties that don't depend on the amount of matter present are known as intensive properties. Now, the ones that do matter on how much there is are called extensive properties. Some properties, they're not the same, and the most obvious one is the volume. Mass is also different. So, once again, those properties that are dependent on how much matter there is, we're going to call those extensive properties. Physical change. So the states of matter, we can change the way matter appears. We can fold the matter. Like if we took a piece of paper, we could fold a piece of paper. We could bend it. We could cut it. Those are all examples of physically changing the matter. But the actual composition of the matter is the same. Hasn't changed a bit. We can also change matter's state. So on a warm day, we have this ice cream here. We went to McDonald's and got an ice cream, but on a warm day, that ice cream is going to melt, and they look different. The ice cream up here, I mean, they're both white still, right? But they look different. One's kind of a solid, and one's this liquidy substance. But they're still made up of the same stuff. They haven't changed, hasn't changed a bit between here and here. Just the state of the matter has changed. So chemical properties, they describe how the composition of the substance will change when the substance interacts with other substances or with some form of energy. So we have this silver spoon here, and silver tarnishes over time, which is a chemical property of silver. Chemical properties can also be seen when things change. Some other chemical properties are like the ability to rust or flammability, the ability to burn. Those are both chemical properties. A chemical change occurs when one type of matter changes into another type of matter. In a chemical change, the substances produced, they can't easily be changed back into the original substances, like in this rocket here. As it burns, we've got hydrogen and oxygen that's turning into water and energy, giving that rocket some lift so it can go up in outer space. But you can't easily take that energy and water and turn it back into hydrogen and oxygen. So we've talked about chemical change, we talked about chemical properties. They're closely related, but they're not the same. Properties means that it has the ability to change, and change is actually changing. Just because hydrogen and oxygen have the property of flammability doesn't mean that they're always burning. So that's the difference between changing and properties. Okay, so we've got this cow that's out here eating in the field, and he's getting lots of energy from all that grass. And chemical changes, they occur all the time. Green plants, they carry out one of the most important chemical reactions, chemical changes on Earth during photosynthesis. The plants, they convert carbon dioxide and water and turn it into sugar and oxygen. And then this cow comes along and he eats the grass, and he converts that grass, the sugar and oxygen, into muscles and fat and tissues. And then we come along and consume the cow and turn it into energy for us. Okay? So those chemical reactions, they happen all the time. So how do we know if a chemical change has occurred? Well, number one, if there's a change in the energy state. Change in, that's not very good, energy. Okay, so if there's a change in energy, like light, heat, or sound, if any of those are let off, we know that there's been a chemical reaction occurred. Or if we have a formation of a gas. Formation of a gas. So here's an antacid tablet here that we've dropped into water, and we have all this gas that's coming off of it here. That's a chemical change. Production of a solid. So we have a solid. So we have two liquids here that we're pouring together, and down here we have this yellow solid that's coming out of the two liquids. We call that a precipitate, and that is a sign that there has been a chemical change. A change in the color. Right here we've had an apple, and I'm sure you've all done this. You've taken a bite out of your apple and set it aside, and the apple turns from a white color to a brown color. That's a chemical change that's occurred there. Or the last one is the release of an odor. So if we have an odor. So here we have this rotten egg. When you smell it, you know that a change has occurred in the egg, and the egg is spoiled. So the release of an odor is a sign that a chemical change has occurred. Okay, conservation of mass. During a chemical reaction, new substances are formed from the original substances, but what goes into a reaction, the same amount comes out. That means that no matter is created or destroyed during a chemical change. Here's Dwight telling you that matter cannot be created or destroyed, ever. So let's review. We have observable properties. What are the observable properties? Observable properties are things that we see. Measurable properties are things that we measure. And intensive properties, what are intensive properties? They're properties that it doesn't matter how much there is. So it doesn't matter how much, that's great, much matter. Love this pen. So it doesn't matter how much matter that there is, okay? Extensive properties are properties that it does matter how much there is. So intensive properties doesn't matter how much there is. So things like the boiling point or the freezing point. Those things, it doesn't matter if there's a tablespoon or if there's an ocean full. It's the same. Extensive properties, things that does matter how much there's, like mass or density. Those things matter how much matter there is. Okay. Physical changes that it changes like the shape of the matter, but not the composition. It's the same stuff. Okay. Chemical changes, one type of matter changes into another type of matter, and then this chemical properties is the ability to change. And those signs that a chemical change has occurred are change in the energy state, formation of a gas, production of a solid, change in color, or the release of an odor. And I hope that was helpful to you. Thanks.